Welcome, Gianni. What was your motivation for writing your book, My Electrician Drives a Porsche?
Yeah, I do a lot of outreach within the industry that we're involved with, and it's very difficult to have a 5 hour dinner with everyone. So, by writing a book, I could achieve two things. One, I could cement my own thought process. Why do I follow these themes? How did I get involved? And how can I give clues and tips to other people to be contrarian investors and follow what I call the longest trend in history, which is the ascent of man. So, the subtitle of my book is Investing in the Rise of the New Spending Class. So that's what I think the book does. It lets me have an extended conversation with everyone.
What advice would you give to investors at this time?
Well, I think you always want to follow the adage of, if you want to be a contrarian investor, if you want to have sort of extra torque in your portfolio, and I'm gonna credit Don Cox with this. I don't want to invest in the story on page one. That's the efficient market. I want to invest in the story on page 16 that's headed to page one. So my advice for other investors would be to, of course, follow everything like a financial soap opera. But more importantly, when you're doing that and you're looking at things on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, try to find those page 16 stories that eventually will become, more obvious to the broader markets. A lot of people that I follow, really intelligent people, they're worried about a short to medium term correction on the Dow, the S&P, the blue chip stocks. We know that it's testing it. Here we are in mid-August, and these things are being tested at all-time highs every day. And you also notice that you have these new highs being made, but on lower and lower volumes. So all things point to some kind of a correction, and these things always happen in the fall, September, October. So people need to be worried. I think people should be sitting on some kind of cash. Also, for people that listen to your program, probably many of them have invested in junior golds, in lithiums. It's okay if you've made 3, 4, 5, 10, 6x your money. It's okay to take a little bit off leave it on the sidelines for the rainy day, as they say. Keep your powder dry.
What sectors do you think will outperform over the next few years and why?
Well, energy is going through a pivot, and such a dramatic pivot only happens probably 2 or 3 times in 100 years. Of course, I'm talking about the decarbonization of the energy mix. So understanding the way society creates energy, okay? So we're talking about electricity. The way we move energy. So I talk about there's only 3 ways to move energy: pipelines, railroads, and electrical cables. And of course, the granddaddy of them all, how we utilize energy. So this is changing across the board. We are officially, I think, already under the way of decarbonizing the energy mix. And as I tell my American friends, oil is energy. Energy without fossil fuels is electricity. So what does electricity demand? That's where you want to be investing. And I believe that is what is going to be a page one story.
What commodities do you think are best for investors to own?
You have 5 major energy commodities. Uranium, which is very political. So let's just leave that aside for a moment. Albeit I think there's a lot of opportunity there. You've got coal, natural gas, oil, and of course copper. Because when we do decarbonize the energy mix, so when you hear the words of cleaner and greener energy, and I've been telling this, the interviews I've done all over North America since my book is launched, it takes 400, 500, 600% more copper for each megawatt of that more deluxe, clean, green, whatever you want to call it, energy. So I believe copper is something that people want to look at. Also, in particular, because you look at some of the other junior golds and lithiums and some of the other commodities, they've moved. They've had a big move. Copper has not really participated in that yet. So I think we have to start looking down the food chain and looking at best-in-class copper juniors, copper developers.
Are there any stocks that you would invest in at this time and why?
First of all, is a company that I created. It's called Copper Bank, which is a land holding specializing in copper, buying established projects as a pounds in the ground strategy. I'm the single largest shareholder for transparency. And it's had a bit of a move here, but it's still, I think people can see a decent value proposition there. So that's copper. In uranium, I love what's being put together in Sky Harbor Resources. So a young guy named Jordan Trimble, he's got Paul Matissic's just joined his advisory board. You got Mr. Cates from Denison. They've just done a joint venture with Denison. The symbol's SYH. I think that has a lot of interesting sort of upside potential here at the 35, 40 cent level. And then if you want to talk gold, there's a 27,000 meter drill program that's going to take place this year in the Northwest Territories with a company called Terex. TXR is the symbol. So I love it. It's high grade. It's basically right next to Yellowknife, easy to drill. And I love a program like that, 27,000 meters. I'll be following those results very carefully.
Thanks for taking the time for today's interview, Gianni.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.